Cancers, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for October 3rd through the 9th, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Cancer this week, we have a lot going on, astrologically speaking. The most important event we've got this week is that Saturn is going to be squaring up to the North Node. So this is significant because we are talking about two very slow-moving planets, making it very collectively significant. So with this is, first of all, Saturn, who's been transiting your 5th house this year, helping you get disciplined with your self-expression. Hopefully you've been taking that seriously, you know, the self-expression, whether it's the creative side, whether it's your hobbies, your interests, productive things that might have to do with creation, such as business, things like that. For those of you who have children in your life, maybe taking that area of life seriously. But whatever it's been, it's a good time to discipline what is normally a very enjoyable part of the chart. You know, the 5th house is about fun, playfulness, those things close to the heart. And when Saturn does come in here, it does tend to get serious. So it's serious so you can build this stuff into the long term. So that's build on a solid foundation. And so as you take that, what is generally called your self-expression seriously, regardless of the medium, I think that's a great way of working with Saturn in the 5th. Now, with that, the North Node has been shifting into your 2nd this year, signifying that this year has been a life path unfoldment for you to cultivate your material security and also your inner security in terms of your feeling of your ability to go out and achieve your values, you know, your self-esteem, your self-efficacy, your sense of self-worth. And a lot of you too perhaps becoming more self-reliant. Now the North Node isn't a planet, so we don't feel it externally as such, but if you notice in your life, there should be this undercurrent sort of pushing you towards cultivating this material security, both these inner and outer resources. So if you've been doing that, great, and this week is excellent for you to take that seriously with the square up to Saturn. You know, all squares are about building things, and this week is certainly signifying building that inner and outer security, those inner and outer resources. So great week for that. And again, great week for channeling your self-expression into something grounded, into something productive perhaps, and all in all just taking that seriously as well. Now when Saturn squares up to a North Node, or any planet squares up to the North Node, it also squares up to the South Node. And so I think this is a great week for spiritual development regarding the South Node. And this is suggesting that there is some past energy that has to do with the deeper side of life that may have been taken to an extreme or is being taken to an extreme. This will change depending on your personal chart and what you've got personally in your life. But if you do feel like there's an extreme with depth, with transformation, with hiding away, with secrecy, things like that, or even control in your life, or perhaps some old patterns that you know are unhealthy. This is an excellent time to release those old patterns, to break these old chains, if you will, of the 8th house and free yourself up. And it all comes from understanding that right now is the time for you to be getting into earth with the 2nd house, to be cultivating those things you value and enjoy on the material level. But in order to do that, it's suggesting there needs to be balance brought back to everything non-physical and the values that you might have and the deeper things in life that are beyond the surface. So psychology, spirituality, healing, transformation, bringing balance to this area, and again, being aware of any extremes is a great way of balancing the South Node. All right, so that's going to be the most important event here this week. Starting the week, we do have Venus sextiling the North Node, so there is a bit of support here for that life path. There is going to be a shift with Venus. She's going to be going into Libra, where she's in dignity, actually, getting out of debilitation Virgo. So collectively, there is this more easier expression of Venus. And this will be regarding your home, family, and health sector. So I think you'll notice a shift with that. And I think it's just all in all a great few weeks to enjoy those things and to connect to your values there with your roots, whether it's with your family, spending time at home, maybe reflecting on things a bit, and getting a good health, you know, connecting with your body in that regard. Now, this week still has a very strong emphasis on your third house, which was the location of the last new moon, which just occurred at the end of last week. So it's still very much new beginnings this week, and an excellent week for you to cultivate this third house. So the third house is essentially the house of your mind. It's the house of that foundation of your life. If the fourth house is your emotions, then the third house is the mind. And so it's a great time to be learning. It's a great time to be studying. Learning about communication, perhaps, maybe in interpersonal relationships, but just in general. Maybe getting involved in community or with your peers in some regard. And picking up a book, stuff like that, I think is excellent. There's a lot to learn at the moment. And any new intentions that you did set last week or you are setting this week regarding the third house, I think is just excellent for you to continue to cultivate. That new moon was conjoining Jupiter, helping you see that there are opportunities here for you to learn, for you to share, for you to communicate, really get into the practical side of life, do some exchanging of ideas, some trading. And it's just such a good week to continue with that, especially since Mercury is going to be going into exaltation in Virgo this early part of the week as well, giving you a good mental aptitude, generally speaking. All right, so that's essentially the first half of the week. We also do have the Sun sextiling up to Saturn on a minor note, so there can be perhaps a good productive energy or just an opening for that. Again, maybe to do some of that more mental stuff or communicative stuff. And Venus is going to be sextiling up to Pluto, so there could be a bit of, again, the openness there with your home life, family, and your health. Some good positive energy there, maybe some changes on a minor note. Now, there is one more very important aspect taking place this week. Mars is going to be squaring up to Jupiter. And so this is involving a different area here, which has been your sixth house. This is the house of your work, house of your routine. You should find that there's good motivation and drive in this area lately, especially with Pluto, who's recently gone direct in this sixth house last week as well. So still an excellent time for you to cultivate your personal development, your work, your craft, your routine. You should feel perhaps a bit inspired to do that. Now, even though it comes across as very positive because we are talking about Jupiter, and Jupiter expands, it could be expanding your confidence, again, regarding those everyday things. But you do want to watch any overconfidence, okay? Because the square from Jupiter can sometimes make it a bit too overemphasized, too exuberant, too much excess. And so with extra awareness, you can help balance that out. But I think just keeping a cool head, not getting in overconfident, maybe even underconfident sometimes with Jupiter, that can be sort of like this pendulum sort of swing with Jupiter, or it can be over-optimism and then under-optimism. So know that there certainly are opportunities. I think there's, again, opportunities here involving your work, your routine, your personal development, anything you do on that daily level, as well as with learning. And with a awareness of that, I think it's a great week to build and slowly, constructively implement whatever those things you're learning or sharing or communicating, as well as your work and routine. All right, and then as we go into the weekend, the last aspect of the week will be the Sun squaring up to Pluto. So with this one, over the weekend, I think it'll be important to have extra attention here on the correspondence, on the communication, on the learning. Sometimes with this, we might feel like we're wanting to control things, and in this case, control what we say, control what we're doing with, whatever it is you've started. So I think it's good to, again, bring extra attention to the mind, to the self. Watch any, be aware of anything that might be feeling like wanting to control or have certain things be a certain way. And the more you're able to or allow the ego to take the back seat, you'll find that there's a very powerful energy here manifesting for you, again, involving that third house of the mind, of the sharing, of the exchanging. And there can be some positive changes with that as well. All right, so Cancers this week, essentially the most important thing is this Saturn squaring up to the North Node. Just such a great week for us to be taking that life path seriously. And this has to do with, again, your material security. Could be finances for some of you, could be assets, but it's mostly, at least on the most fundamental level, internal, right? Accessing that sense of self-worth, learning more about that. North Node's all about learning. Learning more about what your natural gifts are. What is it you actually value in life and how you can cultivate those. And, typically this is the material side to life, the good meal, the enjoyment, the finances, so you can have comfort and security in your life. All right, so Cancers, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.